Hey guys, this is Andy Bacon with the Bacon Group, and I'm on video number 8 of a series of 8 videos that I've recreated that was based on a big live event I did about a year and a half, 2 years ago, um, where we outlined a few deals that we've done, trying to explain how to solve homeowner problems and how to structure offers in different ways. Not everything is just a 70% of ARV minus repairs cash offer type of a deal. So what we did is we talked about deals that we had done, and we talked about how the lead came into us, how we structured the offers, why we structured the offers, and actually the profits that we made on those deals, so people can get an understanding on hopefully how to look at some of these. I think the best way and the most profitable deals by far are usually not cash offers. I mean, once in a while they are. We've got a couple big ones in here, but a lot of them has to do with terms, how to structure the offer, how to look at your seller and truly see what their needs are, and see if you can't meet their needs, even if there's a lot of moving parts to it sometimes, versus an all cash offer. This last video I am attempting to do, because it's going to be very tough for me. I'm warning you now. It could be getting a little long-winded and a little complicated. It involves a couple of properties. Okay, so anyway, we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about this one here. Let me go find this the slide that we used, and let's see where we're at. It's probably this guy here. We'll start there. The lead came in from a realtor. A realtor gave me a call, knew I did a bunch of fix and flips, and asked me if I had any guys that could do a clean out on a couple of buildings downtown Denver, Colorado. And I said, I probably could, so what are you talking about? So he explained the situation to me. It immediately piqued my interest, and I said, sure, I can meet you there like in a couple of hours. But I was very curious. So I went over there, met the realtor, and the signs were not up in the front yard left. The for sale signs were still on the front porch. So we walked through a single family home for about 15 minutes, and we walked through the fourplex next door for about 20 minutes. And I expressed to him at that time, I said, listen, I see you're trying to sell these. My guess is you're going for just the highest cash offer, and you're going to, that's the end of it. He was selling them on the behalf of an estate. A brother and sister were in charge of the estate where one of their siblings had passed away, and he was the owner of these two properties. And I explained to him, listen, if you can wait until tomorrow morning before you put your signs on the front lawn, I would love to make you a written offer. I can have it to you first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. via email. He said, sure, he would do that. And I says, otherwise, I can get you your clean out guys. But if I'm going to buy these, I'll take care of my own clean out guys. And we kind of shook hands, and that was it. So these were the properties he was talking about. So we had a fourplex built in 1900, was partly demolished and had a big hole in the roof on the upper floor. It was for the most part unlivable, although there was a tenant in the smallest unit still there. The existing mortgage was upside down, obviously because there was no cash flow coming on the property other than one small unit, and it needed probably $50,000 to $60,000 in work. Okay, property B was a single family house. It was right next door. Both of them were built in 1900. It was barely livable, albeit it could be livable. It just needed to be cleaned up a heck of a lot. The mortgage was also upside down, and they needed probably $40,000 to $50,000 in work to make it look nice at the time. Plus, it had a $16,000 sewer lane that needed to be taken care of. And then the third building was a single-family home, about half a mile away. There were tenants living in it. The mortgage was break-even. In other words, whatever the tenants paid was roughly what the mortgage payment was, and it didn't really need any work. So here was so I went home and I thought about this, and I put my offer together and I sent it to him. So my offer for all three properties was $580,600. Okay, that was for all three properties. I'd pay $293,300 for property A. I would pay $287,300 for property B, and I would pay nothing for property C. Okay, I don't want C, but if I have to take it as part of the deal, I'm willing to talk about it. Remember, property C was a single-family home. It had renters. It broke even. It didn't need any work. So there's really no upside for me. I'm an investor. I'm not just a landlord for pleasantries. So I really didn't want the property, and so he said, okay, that's fine. I can sell that one separately to either a homeowner or to some other investor who likes rental properties and looking for appreciation. That's not me. Okay. So then we kept talking. After walking through the property, here's what I believe the value of the property is. If it's all fixed up, and if it's safe, and it's livable. So what I was doing, I was basically telling this realtor that, hey, first of all, it's not livable, it's not safe, and it needs a bunch of repairs, but if it was repaired, here is the value. Because I was betting the realtor didn't know the value of the property because it was in disarray and they were kind of funky, and it was only going to go to an investor for sure. So I want to make sure that I kind of put my mark there that, hey, this is only going to go to somebody like me. You have a guy just like me right here in front of you, okay? So that was my intent, all right? The other one, I sent him a 2-page addendum talking about what it would cost to fix these things up and make them habitable, all right? So I had, roof, flooring, paint, plumbing, heating, windows, the bathroom 1, bathroom 2, and I just kind of threw darts and did it by memory, and I did chunks of cash on this big spreadsheet, knowing that he would know what it was. It wasn't his expertise. Okay, and then my offer was also contingent on me securing a 90% loan on the $580,600 that I was offering. So I don't know what's going on in his head necessarily. He's not showing his cards. I've told him what I can and can't do and how I see the deal, and he said, okay, fine. He would present that to the brother and sister, the ones in charge of the estate. Okay. I find this out later, by the way, that he'd had a couple other offers, and the offers he had were for $400,000. That was his highest offer. I'm offering $580,000, $180,000 more than the next offer. Smart guy, right? Okay, so here's what ended up happening. And this is, I'm going to leave the big funny story parts out because it's a very long, drawn out process. Okay, none of my offer happened, all right? But what we did is we attempted something and we ran into a roadblock. So we attempted something else and we ran into a roadblock. I kind of knew these roadblocks would be there, but in the meantime, I'm building phenomenal rapport with the realtor plus the people from the estate, okay? So long story short, and this is a very short version because the long version is about an hour. I bought property A subject to the existing mortgage for $310,000. That was the existing mortgage at the time, okay? And part of that was I said, listen, I will buy it subject to, but I want you to give me $22,000 at the closing table, which they were actually willing to do. I explained why I wanted the 22. I said, listen, if you give me $22,000, I can fix up this fourplex in this manner to a point where I can start to make the thing cash flow, which would allow me to follow through with this project. In other words, I explained to them why it all makes sense. And they kind of got it. But we couldn't do it this way for some legal ramifications. So what we did, in lieu of them giving me $22,000, I made no payments for the first year, which were roughly $22,000. Okay? So I bought it subject to the existing mortgage for $310,000. The estate made the payments for the first year to the tune of about $22,000. Okay? I fixed up the property on my dime, and I put the renters in there, at which point it's starting to cash flow pretty good. 3 years later, I actually refinanced the property and pulled some money out of that. Part of this deal was I would pay the estate $20,000 within a 3-year period of time for them allowing me to do the subject to. The $20,000 that I gave to them came from the refinance, not from out of my pocket. Okay? 3.5 years later after that, so 6.5 years after I bought it, I sold the property for $490,000. All right? I took some of the proceeds for that and I fixed up the house I was actually living in next door, my wife and I. Also, as part of my sale for the $490,000 to a couple, the agreement was I was going to live in the nicest apartment that they had for free until my house was fixed up, okay? Because we were going to tear the whole place apart. So that equaled, when it was all said and done, another $20,000. So the way I see it, I actually sold that thing for like $510,000. All right. So I bought this thing subject to no money out of my pocket, refinanced to give them the cash that I promised them when we did the deal. It cash flowed for 6 years. Roughly speaking, we ended up in about $262,000 in profits on that particular deal. Okay, and this is the extremely short version of this story. Okay, so that's property A. Property B, which is right next door, which is where me and my wife ended up actually moving into and living. This is right downtown Denver, Colorado. Okay, so purchase property B. So here's what we did on property B. I ended up giving them $292,000. That was the purchase price. And what I did is I got an 80% loan to value. All right, so I got an 80% loan of the 292 with a bank, and which means I need to put 20% down. What we did is we had the estate create a note, a promissory note, for like a second mortgage for the 20%. So I didn't have to. So it was basically a 100% loan to me. Okay, and so we created a note and recorded it, showing the payments I was making on the second mortgage, on the 20% that the owner carried back. At the same time, I recorded another document called a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, which we had to create first. We had to create this before we did the closing, that said, I know that I'm supposed to make payments for 3 years on this note, but understand, I have no intention of making any. What I will do in lieu of that, I will make a single payment on a 3-year balloon for $58,400. In other words, the 20%. Okay. So legally, I had to put the MOU in place first, have that signed, and then we created the note. So everybody saw the note at the closing table, and the bank said, "Okay, there's a note for the 20%. Everything looks cool." And then we had this other side agreement, which was a perfectly legal way to do it, where I wasn't really going to pay him any money at all. So I got a 100% loan for the property with no money out of my pocket. 3 years later, I refinanced the property and pulled out the $58,400 and gave it that's where I came up with the single balloon payment. So I refinanced because it was worth more. Okay, in 2015, we sold the property for $650,000. So the entire deal was no money out of my pocket. Over time, we put approximately $100,000 into that property, though. Okay, so ballparkish, we're talking about a $258,000 profit on that house. All right. Okay, so right now we're at so between the two buildings, two houses, no money out of our pockets, some creative hanky-pankiness back and forth, we're somewhere north of 500,000 in profit. So when I talk about problem solving, so what did the realtor get? Why would the realtor hang in there? Because this took about 3 months to actually structure this deal. And like I said, there's a lot of little funny stories involved all the way through, including meeting 12 attorneys at a table, dealing with a guy from dementia, me coming back from a jazz show in California. There's a bunch of silly little stories involved in this, but everybody hung in there because it was a good deal for everybody. Here's what the realtor got. He got 4% on a purchase price total of $602, because the estate told him they would give him 4% if he found a buyer. Also, remember, he's the listing agent. Okay, so he got paid $24,000 on this deal. He would have gotten paid $2.8 on the $400,000 because that was their highest offer. Okay, so he made an additional $13,000 by hanging in there with me. Okay, so that was and I kept the realtor in. We talked a lot on this particular deal, so that was a benefit to him. And I have to recognize things like this. I have to make sure the realtor, who at the time, like I said, I felt, I'm looking at him like he's not the enemy, but he's in my way. He doesn't understand what I'm about to try and do, and that's try and get a good deal. Okay, but so I know that he's got to get paid. And then what did the sellers get? So the sellers got about $200,000 above the current offer, because their highest offer was $400,000, which would not have even paid off the existing mortgages. Okay, so the other investors, and I think there were 3 other investors that threw offers at him, at the realtor, until I came along. None of those paid off the mortgages. I didn't know any of this, but I went into it looking at, okay, I've got sellers who've got this. I've got these properties with mortgages. I got a realtor. I need to solve everybody's problem if anybody's going to listen to this silliness that I'm going to present. All right. Okay. All the existing loans got paid in full. They got $20,000 in cash. on property A at the 36-month mark, which is something I promised them, and that was the one we took over subject to. So that was basically their fee for agreeing to what I was trying to do. That was their thank you money. And then they got the $58,400 in a lump sum, principal only, no interest, on property B as they carried back the 20%. And they got their problem solved. So that's a pretty good deal for the seller. And so they hung in with me. Let's see. And that's kind of it. So I bought the 2 buildings, moved into one, fixed up one. I bought all these things, no money out of my pocket. Like I said, this is a fairly complicated deal. But you can clearly see I offered $202,000 more than the next highest cash offer. And they didn't get this, and I managed to make $500,000. So if you can truly listen to what people are saying and try to go on, try to put yourself in their shoes. What's going on in these people's lives? What's happening? How can I solve this? I know the mortgage has to get paid off. They want their life to be easy, so I can't bug them. The realtors who's going to be, they just want to get paid. What if I could pay them more? Or if I could, why would he stick in there with me unless there's nothing there for him? That type of deal. So I gotta play with all these moving parts. Anyway, that is probably my best subject to owner financing, because one was owner financing on one side, the other one was a straight up subject to purchase on the other side. Anyway, that concludes the video number 8. I know there would be 1,000 questions if we were looking at each other eyeball to eyeball, as it was in the hotel when we did this, but I just wanted to, mainly we did these 8 videos. I felt it could help some people look at things differently. That was the key to this. Quickly look at some of these videos and go, oh, okay, there's alternative methods out there. And I just thought it would help a lot of folks. So anyway, this is Andy Bacon signing off. No more of these 8 videos. Thank gosh we're done with these. And just happy investing, guys. Cheers.